Okay, here we go. We'll type in this phone number right now. We'll put it on speaker. Oops.
How do you feel about your...
Like, hey, is this Patrick? Oh, hey, Patrick. We were just calling to see you. I don't know what I'm going to say. It's ringing. Welcome to Waiver Watch episode 15 on February 23rd, 2020. We are 107 Waivers, and each week we bring to you some of the most interesting waivers that we've discovered the FA has approved in the previous week. And we have some awesome things to talk about this week. Jakey, why don't you kick it off with our waiver totals?
Yeah. We'll do a little agenda actually at the beginning too.
Agenda?
Think about that. So
we're so organized this week.
I know. We're going to cover some weekly waiver totals like usual. We're going to talk about another drone light show update. More of an update actually.
Yeah.
Some interesting high altitude things going on this week. And then we might actually have an update on the mystery BVLOS waiver.
Ooh. Love a good mystery. It's like we're getting towards the end of a Scooby-Doo episode where we're actually going to solve the mystery.
Scooby-Doo.
Zoinks.
Okay. Zoinks. Yeah. All right. Weekly waiver totals. We'll run these down quick. So there was 42 waivers. Pretty good week. Not their best, but pretty good. 36 daylight operations.
Oh.
10729.
And a little insert here. 17% of those night waivers were produced by 107 Waivers.
That is true.
Yes, our clients are super happy. Oh, and
there was one in like 24 hours.
24 hours.
Insane.
You kidding me? I'd like to say that we can just take all that credit, but but apparently the FA was on top of it. It hit the queue just perfectly. Yeah. You know, maybe that person had a case of Red Bull sitting at their desk and they just hammered through. But amazing.
It's starting to get, warm out. The spring's coming. Everybody's pumped, right? So,
That's right. All right. So 36 daylight operations. What's next?
Yep. We had 10729 and 35 combo. That's the drone light show. One for ops over human beings, 10739A. That was pair 0. And 4 for high altitude, 10751 Bravo.
Those
and good week.
10751s have been popping up quite a bit this year, 2020. We've seen a lot of them. That's going to be an interesting stat next year. I think we'll see how
always
people
kind of batch process too. Like they always come on like groups of 2 or 3.
Yep.
So those ATO guys are just kind of pumping them out every couple weeks.
So let's jump into this 107 2020 00311, which is the Firefly Drone Show waiver. That is the combo, right? Multiple operations, multiple UAS operations, and a night waiver. Yeah. Obviously goes hand in hand with drone light shows. Yeah. So, like you said, we've been seeing this waiver come through, or at least this company and this responsible person several times, right? So what's the big news about this one? Why is this one so much better than all the previous waivers that Firefly Drone Shows has held?
Yeah, well, basically he's just like incrementally stepping forward on this thing. So this one actually got approved for 300 drones, which is awesome.
It's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, he's really getting to a high number there where, maybe starting to compete with the Intels or whatever.
Is that Siri?
Siri totally just...
Siri's...
Hold on. What? She heard me say incrementally stepping forward. Wow. Thank you, Siri. It's very, very enlightening.
Maybe we can ask her to do our waivers for us next time.
Yeah. Siri, read Waiver Watch for me. Wow. Okay. Well, that's a good blooper reel. Cut.
So
anyways, 300 drones. Pretty good number. We had first covered him back in actually episode 10 with his last waiver. So there's a link to that. You can go read that one at the time. But looks like he's just kind of adding more and more every time he gets a new waiver. So kind of cool to see.
And then also, so his previous waiver was 250 drones, and then it was one visual observer for every 20 drones. This is one visual observer for every 50 drones. So this like scalability, right? So now you're able to drive down a little bit more personnel cost, and eventually, obviously, once you get to the quantity of drones he wants, he's probably going to want to drive down that visual observer count down as well, just to, you know, maintain scalability and, you know, whatnot. So
I was just kind of doing the math here. So his previous waiver, one for every 20, he needed up to 12 and a half. I like that. 12 and a half visual observers to cover that full show, which is a lot, but now 300. So that's only 6. So he cut his VOs in like half. So
and increased his drone count by 50.
It's actually pretty good.
Yeah. So this is a good waiver for him, for sure.
Yeah. So I think there's just some like good lessons learned here, right? So I mean, as we've been following him every time, you know, adds 50, 100 drones, stuff like that, it's just really showing like this incremental approach to this, which is good to see. I think more companies should be taking that when they're going towards advanced ops. You know, don't ask for 300 at the first time, ask for 50, 100, whatever, 200, 250, you know. He did it over, I mean, he went from 250 to 300 in about 8 months.
Yep.
So, I mean, there's kind of a timeline there, but
it's really that crawl, walk, run approach. Prove to the FAA that you can operate safely. Give them some more data. So the next time you submit your waiver, you say, hey, we've completed 20 drone light shows, and you know, we had 0 failures or 0 incidents. And now we're willing to ask, you know, we're going to ask for a little bit more. And then the FAA will hopefully say, okay, we're ready to go to that next step with you, you know? So it's kind of a, certainly when they see, you know, Kyle submit his new waiver, they already are familiar with this, right? Most likely the people that are reviewing this have already reviewed it many times already over. It'd be interesting to count back how many, if we can track how many revisions he's had. But
well, each one has canceled the previous one. So, I mean, there's got to be at least 3, but probably more than that, I'm sure. And unfortunately, they often delete the old ones, so you can't necessarily go back and see like the full chain. But his previous waiver is still up if you are interested in that. But but yeah, like you said too, this waiver was probably approved like really fast. I mean, the number is a 2020 number, so it probably requested in early January, and he got it by February. So to me, it almost is more of an amendment, not a brand new waiver. So I'm actually maybe surprised they didn't do just like a Bravo revision and just bump the number up. So I mean, it's practically the same waiver otherwise. So
for sure.
So interesting.
Yeah. Moving on to the next, right? We have some interesting mistakes, right? So
speaking of bloopers,
you know, at the end of the day, right? People that are approving these waivers, they're just like you and I. They make simple errors. Sometimes they might spell something wrong. Sometimes they might even put in a ridiculous number for visibility, which in this case, Jakey, why don't you tell us about this amazing restriction for visibility marking and or lighting?
So it's like a completely standard 10751 waiver, except they need to have
provision 10, right?
Yeah, high visibility markings or lights for 48.197.848.143 statute miles. So I don't even know if that's metric, imperial, hard to say, but 48 miles at least. Whew.
Either way, that's a long distance. So how do you, like the curve of the earth even, like do they have to like go out into the mountains to test that this light can actually be seen for 48 miles?
Yeah. Good point.
And then it's a fraction of a fraction too. It's like 48.19 point blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But if we really look at that number, right, and say, okay, how was this error made? It clearly looks like a latitude longitude. 48.19. It's also very similar to the area in which this authorization or this waiver is going to. So, you know, somebody probably had control paste, you know, and they hit V and whoops.
Yeah, it's supposed to be 3 statute miles. I mean, that's the standard. But,
So maybe at the very end, there is a 3. It's 0.143.
It's like, how did they get the second point though? That's the confusing one. So it makes sense to have like 48 blah 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 and then just a 3 at the end.
Right.
But somehow they got a second decimal. So
right. Yeah.
Whoops.
So interesting.
Oh, well.
So think about this. Like they probably have fillable forms, right, at the FAA for these provisions. And this is like a slot, like where you can put in this distance, right? Yeah. No less than, and then whoever's approving this waiver is putting in, is it 3? Is it 5? Is it 10?
Yeah.
I would have to imagine that that's probably how this form is filled out.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
Interesting.
So anyways, we're just kind of a joke. It's like, well, boy, if he wants to comply with this, maybe the world's brightest flashlight might do the trick. So
for sure, 1,000 watts.
Yeah. No, well, something like 90,000 lumens, but it takes 1,000 watts to drive it. I don't even think most UAS probably don't even have that.
Would it be a hybrid gas motor generator to just power the light?
Yeah. Right.
And then this aircraft probably would actually go over 55 pounds in order to, you know,
to carry this massive. There's a picture of him holding it in our blog post. It's like, a huge light. So.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So, all right, funny stuff there, right? So we've caught more than one mistake, right? Before.
Yeah.
So this is super interesting.
And the last one we caught, the FAA very quickly, like by the next week, they had actually reissued a new waiver. So
right.
We'll check back on this one in a week, maybe see if they've amended it. So yeah.
So then going on to the next 107.51 that we have high altitude, right? This is a little bit interesting because this waiver, provision number 4, actually provides the person's name and a cell phone number. Well, we actually called it. It's not a cell phone number. It's a Google Voice number, which is good because if it was a cell phone, that would be kind of bad, right? So, I mean, Jakey, what's your opinion on having personal, like this? We already have their address of their business or, their home location if they're, entrepreneurs, sole entrepreneurs at their house and whatnot. But what do you think about this? The fact that publicly you can find this cell phone number, and thankfully it's a Google Voice number, so it's not that big of a deal. But what do you think, Jakey?
Yeah. I mean, I guess there's kind of pros and cons. On one hand, I suppose if you put that number in there and applied, like, okay, maybe it's fair that it's on there, but to me, it just seems like unnecessary. So whether it's right or wrong, I just don't think the FAA needs to be putting this information in there. Other waivers, they just have and we actually kind of quoted it, their more typical provision is just to have the air traffic control numbers contact in there, and then the PIC's responsible for calling them. But this one, they kind of flipped it, and they put the PIC's number in there. So I think they could write a provision without including this guy's name and number and still do the same thing at the end of the day.
Right. So, I mean, it says, the UAS PIC shall be continuously available for direct contact. And then it says at this number. Well, like you're saying, like, why don't they just have this waiver up? They can go look it up quickly. Well,
there's other ways to do it too, right? So
your drone zone account.
Altitudes. Well, these high altitude ones, they have to do a NOTAM. So I know, like, when we do NOTAMs, we always put a contact number in there and a name. So to me, and those are more hidden, you can't see that publicly. So to me, that actually be the best way. Because what if the pilot is, I guess I'm assuming for this one, it's just one pilot or something. But if the pilot changed, just when you file your NOTAM, put their contact, ATC can see that then and get in touch. So yeah, it just seems like there's better ways to do it than put the guy's number right in there. So.
Right. So maybe if we get a call back by the end of the episode, we can see what he has to say. Yeah. So, all right. The mystery waiver.
The last chunk here.
Yeah. So fill us in on the mystery waiver. So there was some news articles that came out just this week and kind of is alluding to what this waiver might be, right?
Yeah. So this is like an old episode again, maybe 3 weeks ago already. And we at the time we had some predictions actually that it was like actually a Vapor 55 doing transmission line inspections essentially. But this last week, a news article came out about Bell's their pod aircraft thing, which is actually really cool. But it came out with a news article that they did some BVLOS. So could this be it?
So this pod, right? This pod's like it's drone delivery, wouldn't you say?
That's what it's designed for. Yeah. Whether it was doing that this time or not, probably not. But yeah.
So. Still undecided, right? It could be this Bell APT 70 or still could be the Vapor, right?
Yeah. What makes me think it might not be is this aircraft is actually designed to be much larger than 55 pounds. So like maybe they could have, no payload or whatever and just kind of got it underneath to do some wavered flights. But it's actually designed, I think, to be 70 pounds. I think that's why it's called. I
think so too. That's 70. Why it would make sense, wouldn't it? APT 70, right?
It's big. Yeah.
Yeah. So interesting. Well, we'll keep an eye on that, right? And see what happens in the future. We should be, I think we're getting close to solving this mystery, right?
Yeah. Well, it might take a little more prodding for the guys at Choctaw just to maybe get them to respond or get them to join us on an episode or something.
Yeah, we need to check their Facebook feeds, their Twitter feeds. I wonder if they have like Instagram, Snapchat.
Yeah. So it's a possibility, but still,
what about the other mysteries with our waivers, our dreaded under reviews? This is kind of frustrating, actually.
It is. So
we've had 2 waivers. We've talked about it on 3 episodes now, but under review.
It's been at least 3. Yep.
So we've had 1 waiver for 18 business days that's been under review, and another for 16 business days. So that's quite a long time to be under review.
Right. Yeah. This whole time we were thinking under review meant like they're actively processing it, running SRM panel, whatever, and that takes a week.
Right.
But boy, we were wrong on this one.
Yeah. So, well, and then we also have operations in multiple UAS, right? And the fact that we can kind of go back and look at Kyle's, and he submitted a 2020 waiver, right? It's 300 of 2020. We had a number well before that we submitted, and he had his reviewed and approved, and here we are sitting in the queue waiting. So I wonder. I'm just trying to think like there might be something to ours that they don't like, or I don't know, or there's some internal news coming out where they're trying just to delay us until, some FAA announcement comes out about multiple UAS. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just guessing.
Yeah. It is. It's hard to say whether they're, like you said, something's wrong with it. It's higher risk for some reason, and they have to get maybe sign off at like a higher management level, or maybe it just got lost. I don't know. It's hard to say.
It fell off the electronic desk and into the garbage somewhere. I wonder. So what is a reasonable amount of time to be under review? At what point is it unreasonable? And well,
I think if you look at the whole length of time here too, like we're actually pushing up, I think just over 60 days on one of them. So even just from a total length of time, the FAA always tries to respond within 60 days. I think we're actually even past that now. So it seems like from both angles, A, we've been under review for way longer than we maybe should have, but also B, the normal timeline expectation is getting to the end. So
quite a bit longer. And then in the fact that you can have a night waiver approved under review, approved in less than 24 hours, which obviously there's a lot of different risks between that. But we know that they can be looked at quickly. And besides, like another thing too is like, since it's been under review for 18 days, like if there was something wrong, blatantly wrong, don't you think they'd just deny us straight up right away without, letting it burn for 18 days?
Yeah, right. Maybe we're getting an RFI and that takes time to write up, and
come Tuesday, they're gonna be like, sorry for the suspense, but denied.
Well, hey, response is better than no response.
That's right. That's right. Maybe it's the aircraft too. I'm just thinking about that. We won't name which aircraft we have in there, but that might open a can of worms, right? At the end of the day.
Once we get it approved or denied,
we'll make those judgments.
Yeah.
Yeah. So awesome, but crazy week, right? So lots of stuff going on. 2020 is off and rolling. I think there's a lot more momentum this year than there was last year.
We're off to a good start. So
yep. And then, again, I just want to hit on that one more time. Like 17% of the night waivers that were approved were people that had used our program. So if you don't have a night waiver yet and you happen to want it in 24 hours, can't guarantee that you're good in 24 hours, but it has happened. And what was the other one?
Time. Yeah. A couple
what was
days.
The other one?
I mean, it seems
days.
like all of them are going fast. So yeah, now is the time to get that.
We also had an ops order people. How many days approved?
Oh yeah, like 8.
8.
Yeah. With pair 0. Yeah.
Crazy. That's absolutely crazy. That's awesome. It's a good thing. So maybe this is
repeatability out of it.
Right. Maybe this is a sign of more things to come, like quicker responses, quicker turnarounds, quicker approvals, which is all good, which is good for everyone, right?
Except for us.
Except for us. Except for us. We are held to a higher standard, apparently. So helping others, for sure we'll grant those right away. Helping yourself, we're going to take the long way. So, yeah. All right. That wraps it up, huh?
I think so. Call it a week, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Take care.
Fly safe.